Hi everyone, this is Jacqui Cooper with JCooperTravels, and today I have a mayor on from a city in California that I just learned about a month ago, and I'm going to road trip to as soon as I can get in my car and travel across the country because I didn't realize how special this city is, and I'm really excited about sharing all the beauty that's there and also the places that you can go and see. So, but before we get talking with our special guest, I want to just kind of, for those that might not know about J. Cooper Travels, I want to tell you a little bit about me and how I got started doing this. My background is I'm a lawyer, but I'm also an entrepreneur, and I'm also a special education teacher. I navigated back into the education side about 18 years ago because I love working with kids, but I also like having my finger at a lot of different things. And one of the areas that I love is travel. So I've traveled many places with my daughter, but then, as you know, kind of COVID hit. And so travel kind of got paused for the moment. And the J. Cooper Travels talk show was started as a podcast so that way I could talk about my travels and travels of others. But I realized that we travel in life in many ways. We travel geographically, we travel both career-wise, we travel, in our own personal journeys. So the reason for J. Cooper Travels is now talking about inspirational stories of how we all travel in our life and the journeys that we take. That includes those on a road trip to California, to Foster City. So I would like to introduce our mayor. He's a remarkable individual, and he's also involved with a wonderful business as well, which we'll have a chance to talk about. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. How are you?
Great, Jackie. It's a pleasure being with you. What a phenomenal introduction, your background, the philosophical aspect of your show. I'm doing well, and I'm very happy to be here. I'm a son, I'm a brother, I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a friend. I'm also a small business owner. I'm one of the partners of Building Kids Worldwide. We're a franchisor of preschools, headquartered right here in Foster City, and I'm also the mayor of Foster City. And so those are the different hats that I wear, and I'm looking forward to engaging with you and during this episode.
So how did you start your journey in becoming involved in public service? I know that we talked a short while ago, and it does seem very natural to you, but you also have a very inspirational story. So how did you get started?
So I was raised in Foster City. So this is my village. It's my backyard, and I had my wife and I decided to raise our son here in Foster City back in 2017. We decided to move back, and the main purpose of coming back was to give my son the same experience my parents gave me. And it's just an incredible place to raise a child. Just exceptional environment, community. And so when we came back, I started getting involved in sports with my son. He showed an inclination that he wanted to play sports, and I loved playing sports growing up. And so I started getting involved in Little League and basketball and soccer and coaching, and started getting connected with my community and reconnected with my community. And in the process, it's kind of interesting because for me, it was more of an emotional decision. It wasn't so much that I saw this huge gap and I saw my experience. I was already engaged in community service. And so it was a natural fit for me to kind of go into council. I wasn't on any subcommittees. I wasn't on any advisory committees. I wasn't on any commissions. And so for me, what ended up happening was just had just an interesting experience where, a friend of, I was at my friend's house, and one of his friends, she came in and she was very unhappy. She was distraught. And it was because a sitting council member had treated her really poorly. And that kind of opened up my eyes that this is kind of not happening to my wife or my sister or my mother, but it's still happening in my backyard. And so I took that initiative to learn a little bit more about what was going on. And the culture that was being fostered, which was very divisive. And it was very difficult for members of the community to come up and speak to council without being berated, things like that. So I witnessed that, by observing council meetings, studied them, and then started studying the issues, and was really interested about some of the housing challenges that we're facing in the Mid-Peninsula, the traffic, some of the issues of, how we got here, what are we going to do going forward. And so I decided, after doing some work and talking to my family, I said, you know what, I'm going to throw my hat in the ring. I think, with my corporate American experience, my small business experience, and my commitment to my community, I think I can help. And so I started out as a team of one in August of 2018, and I submitted my paperwork, and I kicked my feet up on my desk and thought I'd accomplished something. And I said, this is great. This election's not till November. It's got some time to think about policy statements and what's my platform. I'll get my website going. I'll maybe get a team going. I got plenty of time. Well, I handed my papers on Thursday and enjoyed my evening. And on Monday morning, everyone else that was running had signs up all over the city, had their websites up. And so it was like Mach 2 with my hair on fire for about 3 months. It was a very interesting time. It was such a great opportunity to meet my community, but it was a great opportunity for me to learn about myself as well. And it really got my competitive juices flowing. And so, by the grace of God, hard work, good luck. When elections came around, at that time, now this number has been beat since then, just this last year, but we got the most votes in the history of Foster City elections. It was a complete grassroots campaign, and I had about 168 people that stood next to me and did more than just vote for me, but actually believed in what we wanted to do together and spread the word and engaged. And it was a very exciting time to come on the council, and that's kind of how it all started.
That it's a great story, because again, it shows that if you think something, you can accomplish something. You obviously have to put the work in, but you can definitely make it happen. So what I loved when we first talked was you were explaining the beauty and the uniqueness of Foster City. In terms of the geographics. For those that might not know where Foster City is located, can you share a little bit about its location and what makes it so special?
Sure. So we're on the east side of 101, the south side of 92, right by the San Mateo Bridge, beautiful views of the water. On a clear day, you can see San Francisco and Oakland directly from Foster City. We're one of the most unique places, and I've had an opportunity to travel a little bit, and we're one of the most unique places that I've ever seen. It's beautiful. So we're about 20 square miles, but 16 of those square miles are a lagoon system, and it's gorgeous, and we have 24 parks. So we're about 4 square miles of land, all of it's flat. So very easy to get around. And the way we were designed, we were a planned community, and so it's not like you have this one downtown area, but you have a series of places where you can go for shopping, for dining, throughout Foster City, and enjoy our parks. And then as you head on the north side, we have not a miniature golf course. We have a golf course. It's 9 holes, but it's a par 3 golf course, which everyone loves playing their short game on. And again, a great levee system that actually, where people use that for walking and biking and and getting connected to other cities around us as well. And so not only is the physical landscape beautiful, where you could buy a house on the water, take your boat and go shopping, and just go across the lagoon and go shopping. Not only is that beautiful, but the community is really beautiful. The community itself, very diverse. We're actually a majority city. So extremely diverse community, various backgrounds, various experiences, and we come together as one. We're very tight knit as a community, and so it's really beautiful. Like growing up in Foster City, for me, like I was eating, different types of food every week at my friend's house, Chinese food, Italian food. I was eating Japanese food, just Latin food. I was eating so many different types of foods just by hanging out with my friends on my street growing up. And for me, that was amazing. I see that with my son now, and the diversity that he has in his friends. It's all walks of life. And I think that in itself is beautiful, because I find that, when we can all live together in harmony the way we are in Foster City, I really believe that we're at the forefront of society. Like we're really elevating, or even evolving from that perspective, how we treat each other, how we value each other. What do we take in, when we say, is this person good or bad? And that to me is really at the forefront of where we should be.
The city is also not that large. How many people live there?
About 35,000.
Yeah, so it's a nice community. I noticed when I was doing a little bit of background search, you have windsurfing and kite surfing.
Oh, I should have mentioned that. World class.
Yeah.
World class kite surfing. Absolutely. That's a mistake. I should have mentioned that earlier. It attracts people from all over the world that come over and do kite surfing right off the coast.
So what about theater? I think you also have
We have the Hill Barn Theater.
Yeah.
We do have theater. We're a pretty rich history in that sense. We're only 50 years old. We got incorporated in 1971. And the city's gone through such a dramatic change in what it was initially and where we are today. But we for many years we had an art and wine festival. We still have festivals. Pre-pandemic, we'll have them again post-pandemic here in Foster City, in which we bring the community together to enjoy the arts and crafts and different foods. But we do have the Hill Barn Theater that's been a staple in our community for a long time, and it's a great place to catch a show.
So I noticed, I'm just kind of taking a quick glance. The founder of PayPal actually was raised in Foster City. So you have some people that actually have you have a lot of people who have accomplished a lot in your city, but I'm just looking at those that are on Wikipedia for the moment.
Sure. Yeah.
So tell me more.
We also have a technology Hall of Famer that lives in Foster City. The aspect ratio on your computer, the 4:3 or 16:9.
Awesome.
The aspect ratio. Yeah. The gentleman that came up with that lives in Foster City as well.
And I also see that there's been some Hollywood movies that have been filmed in Foster City as well as a backdrop. And people always like to, when they travel and do road trips, they always like to kind of take pictures around areas that they can find in films. So I mentioned that from the road trip perspective. I know that April, I know we have, COVID happening at the moment, but April is an anniversary, the 50th anniversary. What is the city going to be doing to celebrate?
We're going to be celebrating like almost the whole year, really. So we're not limiting it just to the month. But we have a lot of events that staff, the council and staff at City Hall have been working very closely on. And we've launched that actually just this week on Monday. And we have a series of events that are starting. We're starting off obviously with the COVID in mind. And so a lot of these events are virtual. But what I'm really hoping for is that we turn the corner, and even through social distancing, we get an opportunity to see each other in person, and we have events planned out for every month, going forward. And so, the idea is to celebrate the whole year.
So for those that might not be familiar with a podcast or YouTube or a blog, there'll be their website is really phenomenal, and you'll be able to, there'll be a link there, so that way you can, as you plan your road trip, you can actually link in and see what events are happening throughout the year. So businesses. I know that, we've talked about the sports side. If someone was looking at the type of businesses that you have in the city and might want to either partner with the businesses or, even start a business in your city, what kind of businesses have been attracted to Foster City?
I mean, finance, technology, both high tech, fintech, biotech. I mean, you got names like Visa, Gilead, uh, Zoox. We have got autonomous vehicles. We have a huge mix of businesses, both large and small. They've got IBM here as well. They've got an office here as well, and so we have a real breadth of businesses here in Foster City. And what I think attracts people to come in, and what has attracted some of these big businesses, is the location, how close we are to San Francisco Airport, how we're right down the middle between San Jose and San Francisco. And so if you're looking at what Silicon Valley used to be, which was really south of the Mid-Peninsula, and in places like San Jose and Mountain View, Santa Clara, those were kind of the places that were growing when it was Silicon Valley. Things have changed where the Bay Area is now a hub for biotech, fintech, high tech, media, and what's happening here is that this place isn't giving birth to companies; it's giving birth to economies.
Yeah.
Right, and just new economies are coming from the Bay Area, and so it's a very exciting place. And geographically, us being centered in the San Mateo County being the economic epicenter of the valley, or the Bay Area, that makes us very attractive from a business perspective. And so the biggest limitation for us is space. We're pretty much built out at this point, and so we do have some businesses that kind of some leave, some come in, but for us, it's the small businesses, right? It's the restaurants, it's the mom and pop shops, that we're always excited to support.
And I saw on your website that you have a campaign about support the local businesses.
Oh, you've really done your research, Jack. I love it.
Well, a lot of other cities haven't had that. They might say it, but they haven't had it so prominently on the website. And how's that campaign going?
So it's great. It started out as we had a multifaceted approach to supporting our community, both the residents and the small businesses, when COVID hit. And one of the elements of that multifaceted approach was we had set aside some funds in this app called Stamp Me. It was a Stamp Me app. And what it meant was if you went into a business that had the Stamp Me app set up for them, that they would, scan you and you would get these digital stamps. And as you earn these stamps, you would end up getting, some reward to be used at the small business within Foster City. And so what we wanted to do was accelerate the adoption of that app. And so we put some money aside so that if you downloaded the app, you would automatically get a reward, like a $10 reward or a $25 reward. And through that, initial stimulus, what we were hoping was people would get used to it, understand that they're really helping us out by spending locally, and really helping our businesses out by spending locally. And so what we really wanted to do was kind of accelerate the adoption of that, and we did that, and we continued. The council decided to allocate another round of funding because it did so well the first time. But in addition to that, we're partnering up with the county. And so what you're seeing on our website is that we along with other cities in our county are really reinforcing our focus on small business, local. And so we're a part of that as well. So we've kind of did our own thing for a little bit, and then we're also partnering up with the county to raise awareness and to make it just easier for members of our community to spend their time and money with the small businesses right here in Foster City.
Well, I know that when I travel, whether it's overseas or locally, I love to visit cities that have small businesses because that's is what creates such a unique neighborhood and the feel. So, when you can go into a store or a restaurant, or walk around, that's what makes every place so unique.
Mhm.
In addition to the architecture, so I was very excited to see that, that it wasn't just the big names, it was actually little places as well. So yeah, for sure. Let me see. The other area of special interest for me is always about the environment, because I think it's really important that we protect it and we look at projects. And I know that your community is also very environmentally oriented. What sort of projects do you want to share that you're working on to help in that area as well?
What are we working on right now? We just went through a process and we actually won awards for being a really green city, right?
Yeah.
Whether it was installing chargers, for electric vehicles right by our library, or uh, working through our planning commission to ensure that we had the right policies in place for development and infrastructure. But being green is very important to us. I'm trying to think of what projects are like right now. We've been so focused on our initiatives for the year, and we just had our vision and policy summit. This is something that doesn't really show up as something new that we're doing, because it's always in motion. It's always something that we're focusing on, whether it's previous council rolling out new bike lanes, for everybody in the community, or us, or one of our largest employers, Gilead, acquiring a fleet of electric buses, in which they're trying to reduce the number of people that are actually driving in, but then also doing it in a friendly way, an eco-friendly way. Um, you know, and of course all the bike lanes that we have and things like that. You can bike around our entire city. A lot of people walk around our city.
And I love
Uh,
that. I
yeah,
definitely
oh, me
love that
too.
idea.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I no, I appreciate that because again, every little bit helps the whole.
Mhm.
So, and as I know, your city, it was planned, and I'm trying to remember. It was. Tell me again how it got started.
Well, T. Jack Foster came over with his sons and was looking for a development opportunity, and there was basically this landfill,
Exactly, that was
you
what it
know,
was. Yeah,
and then they said, "Oh, there's an opportunity here. We're going to bring a whole bunch of dirt and we're going to pack it in." And it's been tested, right? So we've had some earthquakes, and we've been able to. It's incredibly designed.
yeah.
The water table isn't much lower than where my house is. It's pretty close. We don't have any basements in Foster City, but
And I think you're working on the levee system, if I remember correctly.
absolutely, yeah. And that was an effort from the previous council.
Yeah,
Basically, we were asked to, FEMA had come over and said, look, based on our projections, you're in a flood zone.
yeah,
So either everyone goes and gets flood insurance, or you make some improvements to your levee. And so the community, 80% of the voters, decided they were going to invest their money, $90 million, to improve our levee. And the previous council really got the ball rolling. And then we had the opportunity last year to actually put the shovel in the ground, break ground on the project. And then that really started in the later part of last year. And now we're in full swing. And I mean, it is an engineering marvel what's happening, at the levee, with sheet piles and how they're getting pushed down, and the machinery that's being used to raise the levee wall with the sheet piles and protect ourselves from rising tides, from the rising sea level. Um, And then there's also some design work that went with the levee. So we're widening it so that you can have biking and walking and you have a lot more space there. And there's some other amenities. There's like lookout points where you can kind of go out on the other side of the levee, and there's an area there where you can sit down and have lunch and just enjoy nature. And we're obviously being extremely cognizant of nature itself. We're being very careful. And in fact, we've kind of designed, the whole project's been designed around, when certain animals are going to be in certain places at certain times so that we don't disrupt them. And so we're very, very cognizant of that as well. And it's a huge commitment from the community, right?
Yeah.
Because the levee is such an integral part of who we are and what we enjoy in Foster City. And to give that up during the pandemic, we didn't see the pandemic coming, but to stick with it and actually give it up during this time shows a tremendous amount of maturity from the community, tremendous amount of patience. And as a council member, as a mayor, as city staff and being at City Hall, it's deeply appreciated because we live here too. And so I feel the pain as well, but I appreciate that, we're getting a tremendous amount of support from our community to move forward and really get this project done on time.
What I love about it is everything that you said in terms of looking at the ecological impact as well as the long-term view of how to allow the city to be there in the future.
Right.
Because I in visiting Venice and visiting other cities where they are impacted by the water, there's always a consequence sometimes for different environmental things that we do. And so it's really important to kind of think about what we're doing now and how where we'll be long term, because the city's going to be here for a lot longer than just the short term. So
right.
you're planning for, generations to come. So that's great. Another area of interest for me is special education and accessibility. And one of the things that I really loved about the city is how walkable it is and how easy it is to kind of navigate around. What other things has the city incorporated to support those that might need more accessibility features?
For us, when you look at 24 parks and 4 square miles, it really is in itself very, very much accessible. What if we incorporated nothing comes to mind recently because it was so well designed.
Yeah,
initially.
exactly.
There hasn't been much there for special needs, as you're mentioning, or for special education. But we do have programs for older adults, younger children with different needs. We have programs that we've identified that use that outdoor space, also use space at a recreation center, when we're not during this time, of course, it's a little bit challenging, but we've moved some of those programs online as well. So, but because everything's so accessible the way it was designed, there wasn't really much to do there from a focus perspective for us, at this time.
No, it's true. And that's something I know that in talking to other cities, those are things that sometimes because of the history, they had to kind of adapt and kind of think about. So I know that the city is, there's so many things to see there, but I also know you're an entrepreneur and that you're involved with a great organization business that also works with kids. Why don't you share a little bit more about that? Because how did you get involved with that whole area?
I love talking about this. In order to kind of share with you how I got involved, you got to almost understand where I was coming from. So I studied electrical engineering and I got an MBA, and I was, working in a high-tech company since 1999. And that company was phenomenal. Xilinx, they were a global leader in reprogrammable chips. And they gave every opportunity for growth. It was just a phenomenal company. They sent me to Tokyo to work for a year. I came back, They put me into sales and business development and marketing and operations. And I was getting full exposure of the entire business. And during that time, I also got married, which was fantastic. And I was traveling quite a bit. And while when I was traveling, it wasn't out of sight, out of mind. It was absence made the heart grow fonder. So it just worked well for the marriage. But I was blessed with a baby boy in October of 2012. And I took 6 weeks off and hung out at home with my wife and my in-laws and my parents, and my sister. And it was just an incredible experience. And then shortly thereafter, I was in Munich, and I was traveling about 17 weeks out of the year was my travel schedule. And I was managing a portfolio of business with partners in Europe and in Asia. And so when I'd come back from these trips, I was kind of down for a day recovering. And so you add that on, that's another 2 weeks and change. And so what kind of happened to me in 2013 in January, I decided I was working in Munich and decided to go outside and walk around. And it was really cold, and just really enjoyed the crisp air. And during that time, it kind of hit me that I was willing to provide and sacrifice. I was willing to sacrifice to provide for the family. I was committed to that, but it was going to come at a deep emotional toll for me because I saw myself missing out on about a third of my son's life.
Yeah.
And all that goes with it,
Yeah.
and with my wife, too. And at that, it was a beautiful time. It still is, fortunately. but what kind of got my mind thinking along, maybe I should diversify my investments, think outside the box. I've always had this bug to be an entrepreneur. And I kind of put that in my back pocket and went back to work. And a few months later, my wife and I are sitting down, we're talking about putting our son in preschool when he turns 2. And at that time, he was about 4 or 5 months old. And, that conversation was a great conversation. It ended with her giving me a kiss on my forehead and saying, "Would you mind taking this project on? Because I haven't slept for 4 hours straight since this boy's been born." And I said, "So you got it. I'm going to put my MBA hat on. I'm going to go scan the environment. I'm going to get the best preschool for our son. We got time. I'm going to make this happen." As part of that, I went to 50 different preschools. We got about 900 daycares and preschools in the Bay Area. And I went to quite a few. And I learned a lot and talked to doctors and just learned a lot, talked to pediatricians, did a lot of research. And every school that I really wanted to put my son into had an 18-month wait list, which was fine for me because I wasn't really looking for it at that time. But I was starting to think that what's happening here, like the demand for high quality education is so high that it can't be met for 18 months, and that was consistent across all the phenomenal schools. And when you're looking at preschools, you're looking at, everything from, someone keeping Johnny's finger out of the light socket and just a warm body being there to having some sense of a curriculum through play to a more structured environment on the other end of the spectrum that has emotional, social, cognitive, linguistic, physical, and academic development. And I walked into Building Kids in Mountain View, and I knew the owner of Building Kids, Vanita Bandari. She's known me since I was 6 years old. And so I took it as an opportunity to go visit with her and also see her school. And I fell in love from the minute I walked in, the way I was treated from the moment I walked into the office, for the tour, every teacher, what I was seeing there, the integration of performing arts, of music, dance, the theater, everything that was going on there, that the children were smiling and enjoying themselves while they were learning and developing. I said, well, this is it. This is definitely the place that I want to put my son. I sat down with Vanita afterwards, got a cup of coffee and wanted to catch up with her. And what ended up happening was I just asked her, I said, what's the end game? What's the goal here? She had 5 schools at the time. And she said, I want to touch the lives of 1 million children in my lifetime. And I said, well, that's fantastic. That's worth putting your energy behind. Quick back of the envelope calculation. I said, well, Vanita, these aren't biblical times, you want to do it during this conscious state, or is this like a legacy thing? What's the plan? And she said, I don't have time for my
or the internet.
Yeah, she said, no, I don't have time to focus on that vision. I'm really focused on ensuring every child that comes in through our doors gets a world-class education and gets a world-class experience. And I said, that's fantastic. I said, come on, let's make a deal. How about this? How about I'm done with my MBA and all this stuff. I got some free time. Why don't I put my energy into helping you with your growth strategy? And in exchange, you allow me to invest in the company and put my son on the wait list because it was about 18 months and let him start in January of, 2015. And she said, you know what? You got a deal, but if you don't come on board as a partner before your son starts, I'm going to give you your money back with 6% interest as if it was a short-term loan. But you're not keeping a partnership stake in my company if you're not committed to what we're doing. And I said, all right, sounds fair. Well, by, grace of God, hard work, good luck, we doubled in about 14 months. And I was coming in reading to the kids because they don't usually have a male voice reading to them.
Yeah.
And so I do a few different voices and I'm having a good time and they're having a good time. And I love the environment that we're creating for teachers where they had autonomy and accountability.
Right.
They could internalize our expectations for the children and then bring their skill sets in and make it their classroom. And so I approached my boss in June of 2014, went out to dinner and I said, here's what I've been doing. And I think I'm going to leave and I'm going to start this business of franchising. We decided that during these conversations that we wanted to look at franchising. I said, we're going to start a new entity and I think I'm going to pour my soul into it. And so we had a long dinner. The next day he gave me a promotion. And he said, as your boss, I'm going to try to retain you. As your friend, you have to go do this. I know, I saw it in your eyes. You have to go do it. And so I walked away from a 15-year career at Xilinx in October, end of September of 2014. I took a month off and Vanita, my other business partner, Sangeet, and myself, we sat down in November of 2014. And we said, all right, touch the lives of 1 million children. How are we going to do it? And we came up with 3 ways. We said, we're going to become a world-class franchisor. We have our own company-owned locations that are helping families and kids right now. And we're going to start a nonprofit. And we're going to dedicate 25% of our profits from franchising we're going to dedicate that money to helping underprivileged children right here at home and around the world. So orphaned and abandoned children, children with hearing disabilities, helping them with their surgeries, children with vision impairment, helping them see. And we're also going to dedicate some money for juvenile diabetes research, because that was near and dear to Vanita's heart, because that's actually how Building Kids started. Her daughter was diagnosed with juvenile diabetes. She's doing great today. She manages it really well. She's a phenomenal person, but she was removed from her preschool, which is why Vanita started Building Kids initially. So we said, all right, we're going to embark on this. And that's kind of how we started. And it's just been an incredible ride. We're in the top 500 franchisors in the country today, yep. Which includes a list of like McDonald's in there, so we're not at 498, we're at 299, which was great. We were in the top 100 new franchisors in the country for the last 2 years. And it was great to be recognized by the Entrepreneur magazine for that. We've signed, over 50 agreements. We've opened over 30 locations across 7 states. We're expanding. So that's been great. We've also dedicated a time and money to the nonprofit side, which is incredibly rewarding. From right here at home, helping children out, to opening up a care center in an impoverished part of the world where children are coming out of shacks with no running water, no toilets, no clothes, in 120-degree heat most of the time. And we pick them up, we bring them to our location, we feed them, we clothe them, we give them food. Their clothes get taken by their brothers and sisters. We give them more clothes. And within 6 months, we had children singing and dancing in English.
Yeah.
So not only were they, developing, they initially came in to rest, but they adjusted so quickly. And I'm talking about 200 a day that were coming in. We got them involved in programs, and we're just starting. Like for me, it's all about now expanding that engagement so that we can help these children through elementary school, through high school, and in our own little way, help break the cycle of poverty for their family.
Yep.
and it's just what I've learned is we can have this vision of 1 million children that we want to help them. And we're probably close to about, I think last time we checked, maybe 70,000 children in some way or another that we help. But it's the one time that you help a child see. It's the one time that you help a child hear for the first time that is, there's an energy source that gets bottled up and it stays with you. And you can always tap into it.
Yeah.
That feeling, like me talking to you about it right now, I feel the same way I did when I came out of that hospital the first time, we helped that child out. So
I agree with you totally. I mean, working with kids, they're what the awe that they have and how they see the world. It's always refreshing and reinvigorating, in terms of why I made the career transition, even though I've always done things that have been service oriented. Working with kids, there's struggles, but it's also always fun too. So I definitely can appreciate, what your passion is and why you're getting such joy from it. I definitely can. I saw on the website that I think there were like 7 or 8 states and India. So that's great. Are globally, are you thinking about expanding to multiple countries, or what's the long-term vision?
you know well, it's kind of like changing the wheels on a car while it's moving, right? When you have a small business, like you have this idea and you have this vision and you start marching towards it, and then something else comes up and you kind of, how do I fit it in? Um, and so we're rapid prototypers here, and we test things out and see what works, and then we kind of incorporate it. But we want real failure to be the cause of failure, not fear. So we
Yeah.
always, with anybody on the team that we're talking, whenever we're thinking of new ideas, test it. Let's try it out. Let's test it here. Let's see how it works, and not be afraid to fail. And so with India there was an opportunity there. We're continuing to. It's been a little bit difficult with COVID, so it's kind of frozen in time at the moment. The idea was to establish ourselves in India and demonstrate that we could give a world-class Silicon Valley, Bay Area experience to children in India, because so many parents there are engaged in technology that is actually built right here, right? That is designed, I shouldn't say built, designed right here.
Yeah.
Right. And so that was kind of the idea, and we started on that front, and it kind of got frozen a little bit at the moment. So I would say in the near term for me, I'm a little bit more domestically focused. I want 150 campuses operational by 2025. There are a few states that I'm really eager to get into, and I really think are primed for this preschool experience that we provide, and just the entire culture that we bring to a campus. I think they're ready for it. And so I'm very much focused there, but I'm also extremely focused on the development of my franchisees and ensuring that so many of our franchisees that have come in and allowed us to join them on their journey, trusted us when we had proof in concept, and we had proof that yes, we've been, Vanita's been doing this since 2003. We've started franchising. Here's the model. But I'll never, anyone that comes in and says, I want to do this with you, for me is a very personal relationship. And so I'm deeply focused on their success and ensuring that we help navigate through the pandemic. Almost 90% of my franchisees got the PPP loan. They're applying for the second round. We're supporting them for that. EIDL loans, they got that as well. We engage with them, reduce royalties. These types of things to help during a difficult time. And over the last few months, I've been deeply focused on helping to drive enrollment, different strategies online, through social media, through search engine marketing, and different tactics to kind of raise awareness, knowledge, and adoption of the program locally, so that they can run a profitable business. And we're very fortunate that out of all of our campuses that we had across, we used to have them in 8 states. Unfortunately, we lost one in Leesburg, and that's why we're only in 7 states today. But we picked up a few other campuses too. So it was, we're navigating through that. And so the near-term vision is survival, right? We're still in it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but the long-term scope, 5 years out, I would like to see us, we're currently at about what, 31 campuses or 33 campuses with the corporate locations. I'd like to see that number go to 150.
And I don't have any doubt. I mean, for those that are listening on the podcast and YouTube, if you have any interest in addition to the road trip, obviously, but if you have any interest in learning more about the business and the franchises, definitely the link will also be there, and definitely reach out, explore it, because I know personally as an entrepreneur, there's nothing better than to do a business that you love, because when you're following your heart, it doesn't feel like you're doing work. So, and you feel the rewards, no matter how many hours you put in, there's joy there, and that it makes all the difference. So especially when you can help others. So for sure on that. I really appreciate your sharing both about the city as well as about the business. Now we're going to top off, like I always do with any of the podcasts, trips, travel. Where have you been that is really your favorite? Where do you want to go? Because again, I know I'm about to get my first COVID round of vaccine on Sunday, and then the next one in 3 weeks. So as soon as I get it, I'll have my COVID passport and I'll be ready to get on the plane. But where have you been that you love, and where do you want to go?
I really love all the places I've been. I've had a chance to go to parts of Western Europe, as well as parts of Asia. But if I need to pick one, I would say Tokyo. Tokyo was my favorite, and maybe it was because also the time in life that I was in. I was, when I went there, I was 25 years old, and so it was a little bit of a different time, but full of energy. Amazing cosmopolitan environment. People from all over the world, and just great energy 24 hours. It was just an incredible experience. And so I would highly recommend, if people haven't seen Tokyo, to go to Japan, and a lot of beautiful places in Japan outside of Tokyo as well. But again, just because I'm forced to pick one, right? Otherwise, Italy, France, Germany, you really can't go wrong. Just beautiful places.
Yeah.
India as well. And I guess from a road trip perspective, and I can't believe I haven't done this already, but I'd probably just go down the Pacific Coast Highway and go to Big Sur.
Yeah, for
just
sure.
hang out there for a little bit, and I just can't believe I haven't done that yet. So that's probably something I'm going to do.
That sounds great. That sounds great. Well, I really appreciate your time today. I know we'll have future conversations, especially as events happen in Foster City and as the business grows and expands. Thank you so much for being on. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Jackie.